My name is Maureen Leo. I'm discussing strengthening the core, promoting anti-racist admissions practices at the United States Naval Academy by moving to a test-optional admissions criteria. The United States Naval Academy is not only the nation's preeminent military academy, it is also considered one of the most elite colleges in the country. Its history began in 1825 with an idea by President John Quincy Adams. It was brought to fruition 20 years later, and its entering class included 50 midshipmen and 7 professors. Since that time, it has grown exponentially. Now its campus sits 33 miles east of Washington, D.C., and includes over 4,500 midshipmen, 75% of whom are male, 25% are female. Candidates go for free tuition in exchange for continued military service in the Naval Academy after graduation. The mission of the United States Naval Academy is not simply to educate its students, it's to promote leadership. And its graduates go on to become leaders in government, public service, and of course, the Navy. The ethos is that rigor yields excellence, and by its notable graduates, it certainly has historically yielded graduates who have held acclaim and accomplishment in nearly every field in the United States. The application process, not surprisingly then, is quite rigorous. Its acceptance rate is a mere 8%. Last year in the admission cycle, the United States Naval Academy received more than 15,500 applications. SAT and ACT are required metrics for admission. The class demographics of last year's class included 1,194 midshipmen, 830 of which were men, 364 were women. The racial breakdown of the class was not that inconsistent with that of the national average, which is laudatory. But at this moment in our history, we must ask ourselves, can we do better? And what can we do as a leading institution of naval service to promote anti-racism policies in our admissions practices? At this moment in history, our institution, like all institutions across the country, should be begging themselves this question: how can we do it better? How can we turn this sea of white faces and white uniforms into something that moves more like this? At this moment in American history, patriotism has become political. We are a divided nation, but we are one country. And we need to be led to this new reckoning in America to see whether we'll waste this crisis. Can we do better? Can we combat systemic racism? And what can we do as an institution to help promote that? Who will lead this fight? Will it be, as it has always been, as pictured here in Normandy in 1945, the men and women of the United States military who faced an uncertain future and danger, but led the way anyway? In this spirit, too, we look to the military to look not only at what America is, but what could be the best in America. And that leadership starts with opening the doors to its leadership academies more broadly. The United States Naval Academy admissions process includes a rigorous screening, including the use of the ACT and the SAT scores. The SAT is not all bad. It's been a metric used since the 1920s. In some ways, it can help protect against grade inflation and can provide some uniformity among looking at an applicant pool. But we know that the SAT and ACT, however, are deeply flawed. Countless statistics have shown that it has a disproportionate negative effect on students of disadvantaged backgrounds economically and of students of color. In this way, the metric is flawed, and we need to evaluate how we can better assess our applicant pool to promote anti-racist policies within the institution. The benefits of test optional policy are that we increase the number of applicants. And by increasing the number of applicants, we necessarily increase the number of diverse applicants. And as a result, we get an increased diversity in the matriculated class, which should be our goal. Other schools are also doing it. 72% of colleges have done it so far. Cornell and Columbia have led the way with the Ivies, and US News and World Report has changed its metrics to account for the change. So how will we do it? This is the current United States Naval Academy policy, which requires the use of the SAT and ACT for its admissions policies. I propose that this is flawed in that it limits our current policy to 1-year duration, and SAT and ACT scores, even in COVID, are required and can only be excused upon a showing of impossibility of taking the test. We need to do better. A new policy would establish that we acknowledge the presence of systemic racism in our country and that we stay committed to anti-racist admissions policy that supports and rewards academic excellence, leadership, and diversity. In that way, recognizing that the ACT and SAT has had a disproportionate negative effect on students of color, first generation, and socioeconomically disadvantaged communities, we adopt a test optional policy. This is worth it. And we certainly can maintain academic standards. We do that by thinking creatively. And the central question we ask, of course, is how can we ensure an anti-racist admissions policy at the United States Naval Academy? Can we do it better? Change always comes from leadership, and that's something we at the United States Naval Academy do very well. We lead, and in this instance, we should. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality, and our time to do that is now. Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have where you are. The time now is to do that here, to move the United States Naval Academy from this sea of white to what it can and has the promise of becoming. We've done it before, and we can do it again. Imagine what result will happen if we finally get this right. It's for this reason that I propose that the following language be adopted as a test optional policy at the United States Naval Academy.